Welcome, everybody, back to the graded update for Star Wars CCG. I'm here with JP, of course. Welcome back, JP.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So we'll do our rundown of past month's contests, upcoming contests, things around the horn, and wrap it up with some interesting sales that we had through October and some upcoming events. So our last contest for October was Thieves and Smugglers. Kind of a lighter showing. I think people were pretty busy, maybe fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. I know I did.
Me too.
He has charged.
Yeah.
Maybe it's harder to come across Thief Smuggler slabs, but nonetheless, we did have a low ball category submission. That was a good one by Jeremy Christoffel. Captain Han Solo PSA 6 and a Dash Rendar foil PSA 5. And Jeremy, congrats on winning the Princess Organa foil slab that I will be sending to you. I can't really see it with here, but it does exist. Here it is. So congrats on that.
Good job.
JP, unique.
Tell us about yeah. So we had only just a couple showings on that one, which is okay. It was a light month, but Matthew Macholi, I believe is how it's pronounced. Matthew, we know who you are. He had a PSA 9 reuse. It was only pop 1, and that was PSA 9, and also a 4-loom PSA 9. That was also a pop 1. So he wins PSA. Leave them to me. Very good.
Unusual slab, yeah.
Yep, very unusual for a very unique submission. So good job, Matthew.
Yeah. And then our top pair, our only submission, Daryl Tommen, Han Solo PSA 9 and Chewbacca Tag 9. Very Sweet. Interesting. He will be walking away with this A-Wing slab, which is also pretty badass. So congrats, Daryl, and other winners on those. Upcoming months, we hope to see more of you out there. So we're keeping in mind broad categories. November is characters with more than one in the picture. So hopefully that's fairly broad. We're looking for, aliens, humans, doesn't matter, but as long as there's more than one in the picture, we'll count it. December, Hoth, keeping it simple. Everybody loves Hoth. I expect everybody to have a slab related to Hoth somewhere. So that better be a big month.
And those prizes are going to be awesome. So those are some cool prizes you're going to want in on Hoth.
Hoth prizes will be Hoth related, and they will be awesome. Compliments of some of the generosity from this great group. January will be non-combat characters and pilots. We're looking for peaceful living characters, right? These could be musicians, senators, somebody like a beggar, prophetess, right? Like just non-combative, non-aggressive characters. So looking forward to that one. February will be Japanese foils, and March will be Japanese non-foils. Hopefully that brings in a lot of people into the fold here for the upcoming contest. So you know what's coming out, and you can get those slabs accordingly. How's the group doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. Pretty much on cruise control, normal growth. Everything is running smoothly. There's really no new information. There haven't been any scammers or any kind of issues like that, which is great. We've had a large, influx of new members, and they've had some questions here this past month or so, but it was due to, of course, the celebration of the 1,000 member mark. So we've been having some interesting questions here lately. Been reaching out to the group. Not many have reached out to me. Usually they come straight to me. They've got a couple of questions, but they've been comfortable reaching out to the group, which is great. And also, I've also noticed there's been kind of an uptick on a lot of the sales of Star Wars CCG graded cards on eBay. And I'm not seeing people actually advertising them in the group. So if you want to, you can auction them and sell them in the group. That's fine. But you can advertise it and say, hey, guys, I've got 20 cards that are ending on Sunday. Take a look at these eBay, auctions I've got going. So you are welcome to showcase all of your auctions. Other than that, we can talk about no new grading specials and really still no show information. There's nothing wildly popular in my area for shows, but group's doing great. and I'm real happy where we're at.
Yeah, I'm also thinking of what's popular. I was looking for ways of selling different things at once. So like as opposed to just selling one slab or even like a few slabs at once, you might sell a slab, um, a box of like commons, uncommons, maybe some sleeves or something else, like kind of like a mixed lot, if you will. Sometimes those do really well because then you're not really fixed on like the value of one thing over the other. It's kind of like, oh, like this is kind of helpful, like all around. Like someone will get, multiple people can get value out of something like that. So I might have to entertain that. I do try and put aside some slabs for just like this can go to the contest winners, but yeah, that's a good thing to remember. I sometimes forget that. Yeah, so the upcoming shows and stuff. Anything happening in your neck of the woods, JP?
No, nothing. There's a couple of kind of like usual monthly sports card stuff that goes on. We have the Double A Springfield Cardinals in Springfield, so that's where all the pros from the team come down to rehab, and they're doing a card show. But I've had my sons go to that, and they say it's straight up sports cards. So nothing too eye popping for me to go out and just kind of peruse or set up a vendor booth right now. So I am looking into December and January for the area and see what's going to be out there to go to. So
yeah, it's interesting because like I don't know if I mentioned last time when Philly had a sports card show, which was massive. There were a lot of tables that had non-sports stuff. Some of it was like vintage cards, Pokemon cards, a lot of Marvel cards, but there were Star Wars, tops, and I did find some Decipher boxes and stuff. And I think it's just because of the sheer scale. There are people that are like, oh, I collect sports cards and something else, right? So there is a little bit of overlap there, or people that are just generally curious about it. So I haven't ruled all of it out, but I'm not banking on sports shows like having what I'm looking for per se. Mm-hmm. But I do see an attempt to get more shows, at least in our neck of the woods, a sort of like mid-Atlantic thing. So I'm trying to stay attuned to what's happening and potentially vend at some of these smaller shows. I'm kind of putting some feelers out of where I can be put on wait lists to vend at small local shows, because I don't think I want to be vending at some large event and drop $1,000 on a table. Sometimes they ask for crazy amount of money. I'm like, I don't have $1 million of product to be selling at this show. So I would never make that money back. But I guess you build up to that, I'm assuming. So October had some interesting sales, and I also wanted to kind of get your interesting take on. So we've seen more PSA vault sales, PSA direct sales. So people are submitting and then getting them graded with the intention to sell directly from there. And I know I did a bunch of it last month, but I'm seeing based on the general sales tracker that a lot of other people have been kind of upticking in that. And I know PSA had been bugging me for a while, be like, hey, sell more stuff with us. And I was like, all right, fine. Like, I'll try it out, So I did, and I have to make a video on kind of every card I submitted, what it cost versus what I got back from it. Long story short, it was a massive loss for me, but it was interesting nonetheless. I think the exposure to being on a general broad platform on PSA when you're selling at auctions, a lot of these things are ending at the same time. So you could go to the PSA, eBay handle and just see kind of what's ending soon, like in cards, and there's going to be a wide range of stuff in there. So I actually do like following that as opposed to, Joe Schmo's random, eBay handle. There is a level of trust there, right? Knowing that they're going to process it and get it to you. You're not going to have any like problems sometimes with some of these individual sellers. 98% of the time, like it's not an issue, but every once in a while you come across a seller on eBay that's just either non-communicative or they have some emergency that lasted a month and can't ship
Sure.
you the item, or they sent you something fake or not at all or whatever. Like you have some headache, right? So maybe there's some level of that, or just for generally, like I was thinking in my mind, if I'm going to submit something there and I got to spend at least like $6 plus driving around to the post office all the time for every slab that I do, if the slab didn't sell for much and they just do it or take care of it, then I guess whatever, I don't have to deal with it. But it seems like it makes good sense if you have something of like moderate value and maybe higher to do that. I was noticing that the low value cards, the stuff that doesn't come back, you're gonna take a big hit on those. Not just because the card's not worth anything, but after the grading fees and the hassle and what they're going to ask for after the grading fees to take more fees to handle the sale of it. It's like $25, $26 to deal with all that. So if you're not going to make more than that, then sorry, you're out of luck. So I don't know. Hopefully it leads to more sales. I know we've also seen more sales on Heritage. Right? I don't know if you've seen some of those posts. People have been posting Star Wars product on Heritage, which is also kind of interesting. I feel like Heritage is like tapped into the like vintage card market or like older Magic, right? Older Pokemon, like maybe some high profile items. In my mind, Heritage is like for the super unique, super rare, or like very unusual items. So to see like Star Wars CCG stuff on there for me is still kind of like scratch my head. Like,
yeah.
Is this like really the new way of doing it? And is the fee, because you pay fees as a buyer, like if you bid on something and you win it, you still pay this extra fee on top. And I imagine the auction house wants a cut from the sale from the seller. So I'm sure they're making money both ways. So I don't entirely know how that works, but I have to imagine that fee would be hefty. So for an item to really make sense, it would have to be worth a good amount or have enough demand that would drive traffic to Heritage to sell something there. Like if you're really trying to circumvent eBay because of fees, like I can't imagine Heritage is somehow cheaper to do that, right? Like if you wanted to sell a box of Reflections 2, like a booster box, you're probably better off posting to the internal group and saying, anybody want this? Let's get a direct sale going versus putting it on a Heritage site. I mean, yes, it gets a broader audience, but I don't know who else is really looking for that. I think you are tapping into people that have a lot of money and are really wanting to spend it on obscure stuff. Like Heritage definitely has the super wealthy and rich board collectors there. But is this what they're looking for? Is this the right avenue for that? I don't have the answer to that. I'm not going to pretend to. I'm just curious to see how that evolves. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, you've said it all. You've taken all my talking points away, but I will say, I will say, as of lately, it's been rough on the lower end graded cards, but I think they're going to pick up. Everybody's always looking for the mains and the premiums and all that. But I think there's a few cool things that's going to be happening over the next few years that's going to ramp up the sales of these cards again. I know looming in the background is going to be the 2027 50th anniversary of Star Wars. The theaters are probably going to be putting them back out. It's going to be around for a while and is going to be a huge celebration. So hopefully the actors that are still alive at that time, because autographs are going to be, sought after. So I think right now, the latest greatest sales are, I mean, things are still going up. I'm not seeing a decline in people buying them. The mains are still up there. eBay is an okay source, but I like you said, I recommend if you've got the ability and you want to sell directly, that's the way you save money. Even though you might think in your head you're going to get like 30 people that are chasing it down on an auction format, you're probably going to make more money, and it's going to be safer through our group, since you're not going to have the fees, and we pretty much know everybody in the group. So I'd say just hold on to your stuff if you're afraid the lower end stuff is not going to be sought after. Sell them in our group directly, or just wait a year or two. And I bet the new Star Wars craze that's going to be popping up here pretty soon, it's just going to be another madhouse again.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know what other avenues for selling product pop up. Just from what we've seen this past year, has been like, oh, that's interesting. It's entered this stream, right? And as more slabs are added to the population, right? And as you said, we were talking about before how some of these registry sets, people have been popping up. We're like, whoa, who's this? We don't see these people. They might not be part of this Facebook group. Maybe they just get these YouTube things. Maybe not. Maybe neither. Maybe somehow they just decided on their own accord to do this. Reach out to us. We're looking at you, Sputman 1021. Yeah. Where are you at?
I don't know who you are.
You are at.
Steven. I think his name is Steven. Yeah.
JP's very curious that you're chasing after his set. Yeah, we'd love to hear about it. So let's look at some other interesting sales over October just to kind of wrap this up. Good amount of sales. There was an Emperor Palpatine PSA 10 that sold for $37.50. There was a Darth Vader foil PSA 9 that sold for $599.88. There was a Queen Amidala Ruler of Naboo AI Coruscant PSA 9 sold for $975. A lot of first-time sales for slabs that have never been sold before, so that's also really interesting, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool, and a good amount of private sales, good amount of PSA vault sales for this month. So, like we were talking about before, big uptick in that. Let's see what other else was interesting. Darth Maul Young Apprentice PSA 9 $149.99. A Luke Skywalker Rebel Scout foil PSA 10 sold for $300. Commander Luke Skywalker Reflections PSA 10 sold for $400. That's pretty interesting. A 3PO foil from Endor PSA 8 sold for $129.99, going back to how hard it is to grade the Endor foils, right? PSA 8 being kind of at the top of those Endor foils. And if you got a 9, then you've really hit the jackpot, right? A PSA 8 Endor General Solo foil sold for $99.99, right? That's interesting, right? For some of the PSA 8s that are really holding their value. Home 1 foil PSA 9 $292.95. Dash Rendar foil PSA 9 $259.95.
That's cool.
Strong sales. Mara Jade Emperor's Hand foil PSA 9 $599. Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight Death Star 2 PSA 9 $1,000. 3PO with his part showing AI foil Reflections 3 PSA 8 sold for $239.99. That's pretty strong for a PSA 8 foil.
That's a pretty popular AI too. People love that card.
Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi Japanese Premiere PSA 10 $355. Let's see what else is of note here.
Wasn't there a Yoda, or was it a Yoda 9? I know there was a discussion in our admin and group expert chat about how there's no 10. There's never been a 10 graded of Yoda.
Of the non-foil Yoda.
Yeah, I think
so.
Because
he's on the corner of the sheet, right?
Right. That's the problem. He's on the corner.
So, yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. Maybe that'll appear. Emperor Palpatine Death Star 2 PSA 9 autographed by Ian McDiarmid. So PSA Mint 9 Auto 9 sold for $900.
That was a beautiful autograph too. He signed it just right at the bottom of the picture. And I thought, talk about unique. It's beautiful grade, beautiful autograph, beautiful card.
That's an autograph I don't have and I would like to have, and that's very popular. And I think $900 is about right. If not, maybe even under. I feel like a lot of his autos sell for 4 figures sometimes. on some of these crazy cards now. But yeah. So those are some of the highlights. There's obviously some other super cheap cards that sold too. My Moisture Farmer Special Edition PSA 9 sold for $3.23. So congrats to that person. Arc Welder Jabba's Palace PSA 8 sold for $1.34. So I'm not sure if I hit a new low there on the chart. I'll have to look at the lowest of low sales ever, but congrats.
That's crazy. And the Mon Mothma, that was the white border PSA 9. Man, that's a great card.
Yeah, $10.50 for that PSA 9. So I part of me kind of wants to grade more of them to get them out with the intent that maybe somebody else will join the registry sets by having some of these cards that are accessible for really small sets, right? 6 cards, 10 cards, not 12 cards, right?
Yeah, those are easy. Those are easy to get. Yep.
Yeah, relatively easy to get. So exciting month, and we already have some interesting sales coming through for November. So looking forward to that. I imagine with Thanksgiving, there'll be a lot of downtime, a lot of probing the phone. Then I'll be thinking, oh, what about Christmas? But first you're going to think about, well, what about Christmas for me before I get Christmas for everyone else? And you're like, I'm not going to get what I actually want. I'm going to actually end up buying what I want, and then, just tolerate what everybody else gets us, right? You're like, you can get me that sweater, but I'm still getting what I need for my collection, what I really want, right?
I know. When it comes to Star Wars CCG graded, it's Christmas every day. I know.
It's Christmas every day. Well, JP, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Nope. I just say everyone's doing great in the group. Thanks for being part of it. And thanks, Kyle, for all that you do. Thanks, Luke, Cam, Andy, everybody. So I appreciate everybody.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. Thanks, JP.